So in case you've been living under a rock, Julio Jones is in fact a Tennessee Titan. I've already talked a bit about this. I made a video just of a general thoughts video. Also, we talked about it on the podcast. At least I think we will. I'm recording this an hour before the podcast, but I'm sure it'll come up. But I wanted to make a video talking about just how he fits in this Titans offense, because I think it's very interesting, and it is, in my opinion, a very good fit how Julio was going to fit into this offense. So first, let's just explain what the offense is really quick. So like something like this, it's going to be zone coverage. It's a cover 3 zone, and you're going to notice that teams mostly play cover 3 zone against Tennessee. Why do they do that? Well, because they have Derrick Henry, who is really good against any defense whatsoever, but especially against like a man coverage. If you're going to try to play 2 safeties deep when the opposing team has Derrick Henry, you're going to lose because he can just run all over you. So you kind of have to have single safety deep, and you want to play zone coverage. Makes it easier to stop the run. And Tennessee is able to build off that. And again, I know Arthur Smith, their offensive coordinator, no longer there, but the general strategies are absolutely going to be the same. You're not going to completely try to reinvent the wheel when their offense has worked so well over the years. And then what you see is that there's a receiver who's running a route. That's kind of, a lot of times what you'll see these guys actually do is run routes over the middle, which means that, linebackers move in because of the play action. You can then throw over the top of them, or there's just bigger gaps in between them because they're out of position. So that's a big way that this works, but you can build off of it. And I want to show a play of them building off it, where instead of having a receiver run over the middle, he's going to run an out route. But this can also still be very effective because the corner is expecting him to go over the middle, and then he doesn't. And I mean, watch. As you see, it's going to be well ran by A.J. Brown. Maybe he could have tried to move or so there, but still gets the catch, so who cares? It was good defense as well on that play, but still. That's kind of what they do a little bit, right? They go over the middle, but then they also build off of it and do other stuff. And that's really the main thing I want to talk about with Julio, is because that's where I think that it really comes in handy having a good receiver in this system. Because I think even a mediocre receiver can rack up yards in this system if they get enough targets. But the best receivers can rack up a ton of yards in a system like this. Like right here, this is a good example. This is actually Corey Davis, who is no longer a Tennessee Titan, so it's worth mentioning that because they did kind of need to replace this role. And again, when you can replace Corey Davis with maybe the best receiver in football, that's a pretty good job. Good work there. You did a good job getting another receiver. But what's going to happen is that it looks like Davis is running over the middle, kind of the play that I talked about, where, again, you go over the middle, linebackers get out of position, all that fun stuff. However, right when this play starts, watch how Davis does a good job. It sort of fakes going over the middle, then gets to the outside. He's going to get wide open and does a good job in open space. Davis is actually going to get a touchdown on this play. You know who else can turn plays like that into touchdowns? Julio Jones. And I think Jones can do it more consistently than even A.J. Brown, who's awesome in this system. And I definitely think more than Corey Davis, who I like as a player, don't get me wrong. 1,000 yards last year, good player, but Julio Jones is the guy. I talked about when I made a film study about a week ago, just about Julio Jones in general, not about because I figured it's worth talking about how he fits into the Titans offense, but I wanted to make a video before that, before we knew where he was going, just talking about what I think of him as a player. And he was on pace to have about 1,400 yards last year, which is an average season for Julio Jones. So he would have been great if he just stayed healthy. He's not washed up. He can still play at a high level. And one more thing I want to talk about when it comes to the Titans offense is that we saw a little bit of this, not a ton of this, but a little bit of this, where you see that it's man coverage. And a big part of where the Titans offense would falter sometimes last year is a team would be able to stop Derrick Henry on, let's say it's 2nd down and 6 or 2nd down and 5, but then they only get 1 yard or 0 yards, and now it's a 3rd down and 5. And it's okay, well, now we have to throw the football. And they didn't exactly have guys who would consistently win in man coverage. Actually, maybe that's a little bit harsh. A.J. Brown could do it somewhat consistently, but you would like to have a second guy. Really, that's where having a good receiving core comes in handy, is beating man. And I actually think that, we could see teams play more man coverage if they didn't have Julio Jones, just to try to say, hey, you don't have Corey Davis anymore. Your receiving core is kind of very A.J. Brown reliant, so let's kind of just try to hopefully use that to our advantage by double teaming him and making everyone else have to win a matchup. But now with Julio, you certainly can't double A.J. Brown, and even if you double Julio, well, he's going to get open anyways because he's Julio Jones. But anyways, watch what happens on this play. As you see, nothing really is going to get open. The throw goes to A.J. Brown. It was a blitz, and he's maybe could have made the catch, I don't know. But Julio Jones, he's the kind of guy you can just throw up throw the ball up to him, and he's going to make the catch because he's that good. So that's another thing that he brings to the table, is just in this select situation, which did happen, where if it's a 3rd down and 10, well, they had a little bit of trouble converting on a lot of those. Well, now with Jones, you're not going to have that trouble, and it kind of takes away a strategy that teams could have tried to implement if they wanted to. So now going over to Julio Jones, can he run routes well? That sounded stupid to even say out loud. Of course you can. Yes, he is a very good route runner. He can do the kind of stuff that you would want to see. And, it is kind of funny that, he could have played for Arthur Smith, and instead he's playing for the offense that was essentially built for Arthur Smith. Kind of funny. But what's going to happen is that this is a very similar concept to what Tennessee does a lot. And watch Jones's explosiveness, where he's able to get off, and then watch how he cuts so well. That's actually something I weirdly talked about in my first Julio Jones film study, was just how explosive he is and how he does, cut so well. I wasn't expecting it to be in this exact offense where those are the main 2 things you need. So I think that he will be fantastic in this kind of offense, of just doing the simple stuff like that, for one thing. I mean, he can walk out of bed and get a 30-yard gain like that basically whenever he wants. So right off the bat, you have that one amazing thing that he'll be able to bring to the table. And so then something like this, does he have the ability to build off of that? Again, of course, absolutely he does. It sounds silly to even ask the question because he's Julio Jones. He's awesome. This is a cover 3 zone. You see the route that he's running. This is coming full circle now. This was the first play I showed you. So this is something that, this is where things get a little bit trickier for receivers, but doesn't get that tricky for Jones. Watch how right when this play starts, watch how when he makes this move, the corner completely falls down trying to cover him. I mean, that's just Julio Jones doing Julio Jones type things. He can turn those 25-yard plays into 75-yard plays because he's so good in open space. He can get to his spot quickly. He is so explosive. He cuts so well. He's a fantastic route runner. Julio Jones, the good things about him just go on and on, quite frankly, and it does actually, it's kind of a perfect fit in that Titans offense in a lot of ways. I mean, again, I think Julio Jones would be a perfect fit in every offense, so even if they try some new wrinkles, I'm sure Jones will be capable of doing that. He's Julio Jones. This is a guy who has 12,896 total receiving yards. He had 5 straight seasons of at least 1,400 yards, and then the 6th season, he had 1,394 yards. So he was 6 yards away from having 6 straight seasons of 1,400 yards, and then he was hurt in 2020. So, yeah, that's the kind of caliber of player you're bringing to the table. He is the best player in terms of wide receivers in football when healthy, probably. I mean, it's him, or maybe you can make an argument for another guy or two, but you basically just got probably the best receiver in football for a 2nd-round pick. You'll take that. Absolutely fantastic move. Makes the Titans a lot better. You're adding at least a win to your team, maybe more, just with Julio Jones alone, I think. I think he's that valuable. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on this move? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.